This is a story I like to call the diamond in the rough. That diamond, his name is Josh Newman. Sometimes the most incredible stories are born from the darkest and most unexpected places. This is one of those stories.
Josh Newman is a Rhinelander local who was once on the long, dark road of addiction. Josh has since rose above the odds, choosing the high road, and is now inspiring others on the daily to do the same.
I was kind of a troubled kid, going over through the years. It just kind of seemed to progress the older that I got, with my small time, pot smoking and drinking with my friends or skipping school. Kind of got out of hand, and the older that I got, kind of turned into, harder drugs, alcohol, and crime. And because of my actions, ended up doing some time in prison.
Josh served almost 4 years in the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. His last sentence was 2 years for possession with the intent to deliver meth. Josh struggled with addiction and had been in and out of the system for about 8 years.
And while I was in prison, it was during the pandemic, and it was a really terrible time to be incarcerated, just like it was the rest of the world, Yeah. I was able to kind of befriend the prison barber that was in the same unit that I lived in, and we started talking, and he started showing me some different kinds of tricks and stuff.
Josh said it was a time where things got very personal in the unit he was living in, and connections were made that triggered his interest in barbering.
I knew that I wanted to do something. I always wanted to have some kind of a skill. My family would kind of push me into directions like, oh, you should be like a carpenter or work on HVAC or engines or, small engines or anything like that.
Josh said he never felt a sense of belonging in his life and always feared not fitting in. So for him, his addiction meant creating his own reality and creating that space for himself.
I was always super outspoken, super funny, super goofy, out there. I put myself out there to every single person all the time, and I always was 1 to 100 with everything that I did. If I was doing drugs or if I was drinking or if I was partying, I did it to the max. And kind of where my life is right now, once I got clean, now I'm doing something even bigger.
While he was in prison, he was able to get into an earned release program where he created a long-term plan for relapse prevention. He said at that time he didn't know if he could even be released, but he knew he wanted to find a way to keep himself busy and shift his focus onto something new. Then he learned he was going to be released April 22nd, 2022.
How it felt, I was getting thrown back into the wolves. I was leaving, prison. I was in prison for 2 years. Yeah, I was doing my punishment. I was doing my time. But reality was I was taken away from the environment that the problem really was at,
Josh said structure is always something he did well with, but when given the chance to make his own decisions, he would get out of control. He said if he was given an inch, he would take a mile. He had to learn to create his own structure and step out of his comfort zone if he truly wanted a better life. He knew barbering sparked his interest, but wasn't sure how to go about it until he learned of Nicolet's cosmetology program.
I went in pretty blind, to be honest with you. Even when I went into interview with the teacher, I felt very out of place. I just got out of prison. I was a big guy. I had a big beard at the time, just kind of looking out of place. But she was very welcoming. Everybody at Nicolet was super welcoming. And I was very transparent about my story right away, that I just got out of prison. This is what I did. This is what I'm doing. And this is where I want to be. And they were like, let's do it.
Josh allowed himself to be vulnerable and knew it was entirely necessary for his success.
It was a fresh start.
Yeah, it was a fresh start, And I figured if I made myself as uncomfortable as possible, that the only thing to do was to make myself comfortable in a new environment. And by doing that, it created a new life for me. My personality started to come out of my shell. Like I said at the beginning, I've always been a goofy, outgoing guy, and this is kind of my personality, and it's hard to hide that after a while. So I started, acting kind of goofy at school and just started being my truest form of self that I've ever been.
He started to gain confidence and find value in himself that he didn't have before. And because of that, he became more aware of the company he kept and how he spent his time.
Because it's really precious, and I've taken a lot of other people's time, and I've wasted a lot of my time, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Josh graduated from the Nicolet cosmetology program on September 6, 2022, with a degree in cosmetology and a new sense of being. Prior to graduating, he had been working full-time at Fantastic Sam's in Rhinelander and has now been there for a year and a half.
And since I've been there, I've had reoccurring clients, people that ask for me, people that come in there and just assume that I can cut hair based on my appearance or the haircuts that they see that I'm doing. And it's really cool. It went from going to a place and feeling like people would clench their purse by me, like these little old ladies, and now they're calling me by name when they walk into the shop.
He said 5 years ago he could have never seen himself where he is now, especially not what happened next.
I took a walk-in client at Fantastic Sam's one day, and I started talking to him, and I asked what he did for work. And he said that he was the jail administrator for Vilas County. And I was like, crazy, I used to go to jail all the time.
Broke the awkward ice, and they began talking, and Josh shared his story.
We talked, the whole time that we were doing the haircut, and we really hit it off, and then we had an idea how we could add him to our program.
The Vilas County Jail has a recovery program similar to the program Josh completed prior to his release. The connection was established that day, and Josh was offered to share his story with the inmates in that program who were taking their recovery seriously. Josh hopped right on that opportunity.
I said yes, and not to mention, so I've created a new business called Cutz with Connection, where I am going to institutions, jails, schools, anywhere basically anybody will let me go there to tell my story, offer my services.
Josh's goal is to be what he needed when he was lost, in hopes that he can help and inspire others on their rehabilitation journey. So far, Josh has gone to schools, a boys' home in Wittenberg, and the jail once a week.
And he's doing well, and we want to keep him.
I'm really fortunate that I've been able to, with my career and my story, is just opening more and more doors for my future.
You don't have to hide, you just
I get to be exactly who I am every single day, and I don't have to hide from anybody or hide from myself. Now I'm going to make a whole career, an entire life for me and my family based on my past, my present, and my future.
If you'd like to follow Josh's story, follow Cutz with Connection on Facebook.